Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Basketball Banter Show with your host, Matthew Valento. Thank you for joining me today. And today we're going to be looking back at my predictions at the beginning of this season, courtesy of LakersNation.com. If you don't know, I am a staff writer for LakersNation.com. And prior to this season taking off, we all came together as a staff to give our predictions on the season. And today I feel like is a good time to reflect on those and see how good I predicted or how terribly wrong I was. So I think it'll be a fun little entertaining video to see how off I was on some of these predictions, which will be fun. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment on this video. Follow all the social medias linked down below is greatly appreciated. And just jumping straight into it, we're going to be looking at my predictions for this NBA season. And it's a doozy starting off with the first one right off the rip. It is my finals prediction, which I had my Los Angeles Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks, where the Lakers will ultimately win that series. And if you live under a rock, the Lakers aren't looking too hot this year, currently sitting at the ninth seed. The Bucks, I was kind of high on due to the Damian Lillard trade. Lillard's kind of been up and down this season. You fire your head coach a little more than halfway into the season, hire Doc Rivers, which there's always a perception about Doc Rivers, but the Bucks I was pretty high on just due to the duo that they have and still having a considerable amount of bench production, enough to get you by in some playoff series. But not looking too hot. If I had to revise this, I'd probably say the Nuggets and the Celtics are my finals pick right now. Probably taking the Nuggets in that series, just due in part to Nikola Jokic being the best player in the world and simply being able to execute when it comes down to crunch time, unlike the Boston Celtics, where we saw sometimes where Jason Tatum kind of falters in crunch time. So way off on this first prediction, as the Lakers are not finals worthy at all, or even contenders at this point in time. So definitely way off on that one. But hey, you live and you learn. Next up, my MVP pick, which I think is pretty spot on if you ask me. Luka Doncic. Man, oh man, is this dude a dog. Um, he's on my fantasy team this year. I took him with my first pick, and he's been great. Um, Granted, the only thing going against him is the Mavs aren't necessarily a high seed, currently situated as the eighth seed. But I think if it doesn't happen this year, it's got to happen next year or the year after because Luka Doncic is seriously just insane, averaging 34 points, 9 rebounds, 9.8 assists on 49% from the field, 36%, or sorry, 37% from three, and even averaging a steal, 1.4 steals a game, which is pretty nice to have. Averaging a triple double in his last 10, 34, 11, and 10. Just absolutely disgusting stats from Luka Doncic. Just doing Luka things. We all know the kind of point guard that he is. He's able to stuff the stat sheet any given night, which is great to see. And I would like for the Mavs to maybe get to that sixth seed if they're able to get Luka that MVP award. But I'm fighting hard for this one. I think Luka is the clear cut MVP, but Jokic is definitely in the running to get it once again. But I must say I'm pretty well on the mark on this one. I think Luka is definitely an MVP candidate. Um, if he doesn't win it, I expect him to be a very close runner up. So Luka, I think I'm pretty spot on there. Next up, Depoy, Anthony Davis. I think while he is still my favorite to win it all for this award, I think he's getting a little slighted when it comes to like the betting odds. Maybe I'm just biased, but um, Victor is definitely up there. I've seen Rudy Gobert kind of being that consensus number one, but I just disagree, man. I think Anthony Davis, he's basically the entire Lakers off or defense, excuse me. Um, Being able to contain everything, being able to step out on the perimeter as a big man is also very much needed, and everything just funnels through him on that defensive end, and averaging 2.2 blocks, 1.6 steals in his last 10 overall in the year, averaging 2.4 blocks, 1.2 steals. I think he's just got to get it after the postseason he had last season. I don't know how much a record kind of plays into defensive player of the year. I guess we'll see when it comes to the finalists for it. But at the very least, I think Anthony Davis should be in the mix to win it. Whether he wins it remains to be seen, but I think he should certainly be in the mix to win the award for sure. It'll be interesting to see who makes the cut for the finalists. I assume Gobert and Victor are probably going to be up there in terms of winning this award. But I think, again, similar to the Luka Doncic MVP pick, I think this is another pick that you can look back on and it isn't too crazy or way off the mark. So I think Anthony Davis has a very, very great shot at winning Defensive Player of the Year. Hopefully he gets it. Who knows? The Lakers suck. So perhaps that plays a factor. We shall see. But moving on, Rookie of the Year, I think this is basically just a no brainer. Victor Wembanyama, certainly just a one of one talent, putting up godly numbers on this back end of the season. After a little bit of a slow start offensively for him, but his defense has been consistent all year long, averaging on the year 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shooting 46% from the field, 33% from three. But while the 3 point percentage is low, he can definitely shoot as a big man and it'll definitely trend upwards through the coming years. But overall, he's just been an absolute monster, averaging 4.5 blocks in his last 10, 1.6 steals, shooting 42% from three, averaging 21 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. He just does it all, man. As a 7'4" center, absolutely ungodly what we're seeing from Victor. And to do it against this kind of high level competition in his first year is definitely a great sign if you're a Spurs fan. Definitely looking forward to how they round out this roster to build around him. And he's just a great prospect, man. I think he's certainly up there with LeBron as one of the best prospects to ever enter the league. And we're seeing it right now. And I think there's no way it falters. I think he's only going to get better, specifically when it comes to shooting. That 3 point shot is going to be pretty huge for him. Hopefully, getting to around league average or high 30s would probably be ideal for him, like 35 to 38%. I think is pretty reasonable. And yeah, man, there's just no rookie that's stacking up to him. And it's going to be a consensus, I would think, for Wemby to win the Rookie of the Year. So shouldn't be any contest there. And I'm very excited to see how he grows as his career goes on, and hopefully putting on a little more weight wouldn't hurt either. So Victor Wembanyama, I think for a very good majority of the NBA community, he is the Rookie of the Year. Moving on to most improved player, I picked Mikal Bridges, due in part to what he did when he got traded in the Kevin Durant deal last year. And he's shown that he could be a number one option. I mean, a lot of people were skeptical if he was really that number one guy for the Nets going forward. So when he came to Brooklyn, it was more a feeling out process to see, is this really the guy we want to build around? But I wrote a little bit about it here. In the 27 games he got there, 26 points, 47% from the field, 37% from three. Obviously, we know the defender that he is. And overall, just a great, well rounded premier 3 and D player. And wasn't necessarily a great season in terms of winning for Mikel, but overall, he's still been solid for them, averaging he's still a 20-point per game scorer, shooting 36% from three, 40% from the field in his last 10. But overall, he's just putting up very solid numbers. A little bit of a decrease from the 27 games last season, but still a very, very great uh, scoring option for the Nets. Still a little bit on the fence if he's the guy you want to build around moving forward, but that remains to be seen. But I think for a lot of people, again, the consensus for this award is Tyrese Maxey, who's averaging 26 points, 6 assists, been instrumental since trading James Harden away to the Clippers. He's just been that great guard to step up in Harden's absence, alongside Joel Embiid for a good chunk of the season until Embiid got hurt. And now Maxey's kind of had to be that guy for several weeks now. And he's been able to kind of hold the Sixers above water. They've been sliding a lot, only 6 games above 500 now. But I think regardless of that, Tyrese Maxey is definitely going to be a great guard for the Sixers. And alongside Joel Embiid, doing that 1-2 punch is going to be deadly as Maxey continues to build on his shooting splits. 26 points, as mentioned, 45% from the field, 38% from three. Able to dish it a little bit, quick guard. Definitely helps with the Sixers' play style and taking some pressure off Joel Embiid, which is a very much great needed help for the Sixers. But I think Maxey is definitely in line to win the most improved player for sure. Sixth man of the year, Emmanuel Quickly. He came in second last year to Malcolm Brogdon. Um, wasn't necessarily sure about this award when I first predicted it. While Emmanuel Quickly is no longer a sixth man since he got traded to the Raptors, he's now the starting point guard. So he is out of the running, but I think for me, the sixth man of the year is probably going to be Malik Monk, averaging 15.7 points, 5 assists, 44% from the field, 37% from three. Obviously, was a Laker a couple seasons ago where he had his breakout season, able to cash in on a payday for the Sacramento Kings. And he's just been great being that microwave scorer off the bench for the Kings. And can't go wrong, averaging 18 points in his last 10 games, 35% from three. So I think the sixth man is a little bit wishy washy at this point in time. Russell Westbrook could definitely be in that mix as well, but he recently got injured, so don't know how that affects his voting chances. But for me, I'll take Malik Monk, Laker legend. I think he's been great for the Kings ever since he got there, propelling them into playoff status and being that scorer alongside De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis in fourth quarters and closing out games. It's very deadly, and I think he'd be a great fit for the sixth man of the year award. Moving on to coach of the year, Mark Daigneault for the Thunder. I expected the Thunder to take a leap this year, but I did not expect them to be this great. I'll be honest with you. I thought they were going to squeak into the fifth or sixth seed. Now they're in the mix for the first seed, which is absolutely insane. Currently tied with the Nuggets, but hold the first seed over them at this point in time. And obviously, Shea Gilgis Alexander is elite, one of the best point guards in the league, averaging 30 points, 31 points to be exact, 6.4 assists, 5.6 rebounds, averaging 2 steals as well. So getting it done on both ends. And then you have just well balanced scoring all around him. You get J Dub, Chet Holmgren. You have Luke Dort chipping in 10, Josh Giddey chipping in 11 as well. So overall, just that starting lineup of young talent is really working well for them. J Dub and particular has been great alongside Shea. And the Thunder have just been great. Mark Dagnall has kind of ridden the ship there throughout this entire rebuild. And now you're seeing the true capabilities of this Thunder team. And I think it's basically a no brainer, like we saw with Mike Brown when he got the Kings back to the postseason. I think this is a no brainer as well, just being able to take the Thunder back to the postseason after a little bit of a downturn when CP3 left and after their playoff appearance in the bubble. So overall, I think Mark Dagnall is definitely going to be in consideration for Coach of the Year. Maybe not consensus like Mike Brown was, but I think he can definitely get Coach of the Year as well. And then, sadly, looking at the Lakers' record, um, man, oh man, was I horribly wrong on this one. I think all my predictions were reasonable in a vacuum. Maybe a little debates here and there on them, but I think for the most part, I kind of hit the mark. But this is the prediction. I fell flat on my face. 48 and 34, and the Lakers are currently 36 and 31. So they're definitely not hitting that mark. And I talked about if LeBron and AD can stay healthy for 60, 65 games. Um, Being able to get into the top six should be a no brainer. And was I horribly wrong? LeBron and AD have been really healthy this year, probably the healthiest they've both been since playing together in LA. But so many injuries to role players, coaching issues, rotation issues, injuries just compacting the Lakers recently. You really miss the likes of Vando, Gabe Vincent only played 5 games this year. Um, Perhaps both of them can return sometime in March, but that remains to be seen, obviously. And I think with Darvin Ham, he just took way too much time to figure it out in terms of starting lineups and rotations and minute allotment. So not great. But can't fault me because I know the consensus around the media was Lakers were one of, if not the winner of free agency. They kept their guys like D'Lo, Austin, and Rui. Rui, he's been up and down, but since being in the starting lineup, he's been pretty great for them. Um, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season unfolds for them. Obviously, I was horribly wrong, and the Lakers look to underperform once again and find themselves in the play-in once again, most likely. So overall, not too shabby putting in retrospect. Let me know what you guys think. What are your end of season awards? Feel free to put them down in the comments below. But overall, we're set up for a great finish. Only a couple weeks left in the season. Playoff race is still going on its way, and it'll be interesting to see how everything unfolds. And I'll make sure to cover the end of season awards when that time comes. But thank you guys for joining me today. Feel free to subscribe, like, check out all the social media down below, and feel free to check me out on everything. So yeah, that'll do it for this episode. If you're new here, I go live, not live, but I post a video every Friday. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Take care.